Greetings, greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. Tonight, I have a very special guest, my new good friends, Dr. Hans Parge, a very illustrious gentleman, very successful and with a beautiful heart to match with it. I can spend a good 5-10 minutes just to describe all his amazing achievement. I'm just going to summarize it as much as I can, and then I'm going to have him fill in the blanks and say it. But so basically, Dr. Hans' background is in biomedical research and pharmaceutical drug discovery. He did his Ph.D. at Trinity College in Dublin and postdoctorate work in Berlin at the Free University of Edinburgh, and the Scripps Research Institute in Jolla. He's done a lot of work around that, as well as on startups. Now he helps people take control of their health and age by design, with the goal of dying young as late in life as possible. His tagline is beautiful as well, which summarizes himself as commitment to the art and science of clean living. So we're going to unpack all of that in this podcast. But first, Hans, my friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Payman, my dear friend. The honor.
Welcome. Very welcome. Pleasure's all mine. So for people who don't know you, who's Hans as a person, as a human being? We're going to talk about the professional achievement in a moment, but first let's get to know you as a human being. Who's Hans?
What an awesome question. Who is Hans? I've been asking myself that question all of my life.
Exactly. We all are.
We all are the accumulation of all of the I guess experiences. I grew up in Ireland, as I mentioned, and Ireland is a particularly Catholic country, so I had that as an influence. Also, it has a great history of missionary work, and there's a wonderful book called How the Irish Saved Civilization, which sort of shows how the Irish monks brought back the literature that managed to be saved from the marauding Huns that sacked and pillaged the Roman Empire. So that the Celtic tradition of I guess service, a little bit of spirituality, sort of informed my upbringing. So, and it's no different, I think, to most people. I believe that we are content to the extent that we are of service to others. And many people have said it in different ways. I like Jim Rohn's phrase, which is, find a way to serve the many, because service to many leads to greatness.
Absolutely. Love that. Okay. So the type of conversation I'd like to have is to share, as I said, we're going to talk about your amazing professional achievement. But first and foremost, I want to have a look under the hood to see what's in your heart, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart. So tell us, Hans, what makes you happy?
It really comes back to the concept of contentedness. Mm-hmm. We are content to the extent that we are of service to others. And since most human action is self-interested, I can be happy when lots of other people are happy. If lots of other people are not content, or they don't have what they need to make a life and a living, then I feel I am less than whole, since we're all connected as part of this thing that we call the universe. Does that answer the question, or was that just a roundabout way of getting there? Or of avoiding the question?
Very well. Okay, now, what makes you smile?
A kind thought, a kind action, a kind word. Mm-hmm. And having people seeing people step into their power. And getting that aha moment that this is what's for me, this is my purpose, this is my journey, this is my reason for being. Now, of course, the world would be a happier place if more people had a sense of humor. So good humor will always make me smile.
Absolutely. Smile is one of the most powerful medicine in the world. It opens a lot of doors, a lot of hearts, and it's the best, business card in the world. A beautiful, warm smile. Actually, I don't know if I read it or I heard somewhere that there was a doctor talking. He's saying that if every doctor in the world were to prescribe 1 hour of mandatory smiling and laughing to every human being in this planet within 30 days, 95% of all ailments would be gone.
And that is something that intuitively we can believe, but as the scientist in me would like to have the substantiation, because we trust God, but everyone else better bring us data when we are going to make a statement.
His claim was that because the majority of ailments and illnesses are due to stress, and when we smile and laugh, that reduces the likelihood of stress, and therefore the likelihood of getting sick, or if you're sick already, whatever, you feel you're sick, because sickness, a disease, is a mindset. It started in the mind, and then the mind creates the environment for it. So if we change our mind in a way that's more towards positivity, towards more smiling and laughing, then that makes it a hostile and toxic environment for diseases. So that was his argument. So again, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but
Intuitively, it sounds incredibly reasonable, because you're talking about, the body as a healing machine, which is a perfect
yes.
healing machine.
Mhm.
And that healing machine, once it gets all of the products it needs to function, can heal from many, many diseases. Actually, there is a phrase that Voltaire used, I believe it was from Voltaire, who said, the job of the physician is to keep the patient amused while nature heals the disease.
I
So
love that. Wow.
but it is all connected. The mind, body, and the spirit is all connected. So we can't look at things in isolation. From a disease, I would like to know, what kind of disease are we talking about? If we're talking about a viral or bacterial infection, I doubt very much that disease originated in the brain.
Yes, very true.
We see the particles, we can physically look at their atomic structure of the various different things that make up a virus. If you're talking about non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular, metabolic diseases that are really like even Alzheimer's or obesity or diabetes, that really are a result of some housekeeping system or some immune system being out of balance, there I think, yes, the mind and the triggering of a relaxation and a placebo response is essential for healing.
Here's another question that came to mind. So can a positive mindset and one that is happy, joyous, laughing, smiling be a tremendous shield against any outside diseases, even the viral? Because even if the viral diseases were to come to us, because the environment is so hostile and toxic for that virus, then it would be defeated quite fast. Does it make sense? Or am I being too utopic and idealist?
No, it does. Again, it intuitively makes sense, but from a molecular perspective, there are other players in that game, in that molecular symphony, that require more than just having a happy thought. The happy thought, of course, is essential because it triggers, as I said, that relaxation response or the placebo effect. And there are people who have published some very nice work out of Stanford on the effect on the placebo effect. So it's definitely essential to as a component to support the body's natural healing. So if I'm telling you that this thing is going to work, it may just be a sugar pill, but there is a good chance that it'll actually work for you because you're triggering that placebo effect. Just likewise, if I tell you, you've got cancer, you're going to die tomorrow, I'm triggering a nocebo effect, and that will trigger a mindset and a production of chemicals that will say, oh, well, I'm out of here. Why even bother? Now there is a book by Norman Cousins, who in the early 80s, when the AIDS epidemic was raging, had a lot of friends that he was nursing, who himself then had a I think a terrible car accident that left him paraplegic, and he was in terrible pain for most of the day. And his book was called The Anatomy of an Illness, and he claimed that 10 or 15 minutes of good, hearty laughter could help him deal with pain for about an hour or two. So yes, there are things that that all play in the mind, that all play into the symphony of life.
That's a fascinating conversation, because just to use the example you gave of, for example, if you were to tell someone you have cancer, you have only 24 hours to live or whatever, there will be two types of responses. One, the person is going to take it, not question it, and just wait to die. And then this other person is not absolutely refuse it and will do everything tooth and nail to fight it in their mind and not accept it. And that person will have a higher chance of making it and beating it. Actually, I had at least two ladies on my podcast who beat cancer without taking any conventional treatments, just with the power of their mind. One of them even wrote a book. I believe her name is Lisa Warner. I have on my podcast. I don't know if you know her. And she wrote a book about her experience. I actually added her once on my podcast, and I'm just waiting to finish reading her book to have her again to talk about it. I will send you the link to her episode as well as to her book. I have it somewhere in here, but I can't find it. I wish I had taken it. I would have shown it. But anyways, I will send you the link after. So how do you explain? How can we explain that some people can have drastically different, results? I guess it all comes down to, it's not what happens, but what you make out of something. That's the whole point of it. But in a profound medical way, yes, the body is a tremendous machine, perfect machine that can heal itself. But yet, I guess my question is how can we explain that some people succumb to what they're being told, and some people, they survive it, and they I don't know if I'm expressing myself correctly, but you know what I mean?
You're reminding me of a book that I'm not sure what the author, I think, but he was a physician. It was called The Relaxation Response. And I think a lot of it has to do with that. We're looking, a good physician or a good healer will engage the body by triggering its natural healing mechanism.
Yes.
If you look at disease, as we said before, as something going out of balance, if we can get back into balance, then the mind contributes to that, because it also makes the decisions as to what actions we can take, what lifestyle measurements we can take. For the really tough diseases like cancer, I will defer to the medical experts. I'm not a medical expert.
Sure, it's difficult.
I just hope that I will manage to avoid it. I've
As
made the right decisions. Yeah. And how I would deal with it, there are things I would use now, knowing now what I know over the last number of years of accumulated knowledge. But to say that they're going to cure, I would leave the FDA to decide that.
Okay, fair enough. Now, that's what I love about this. The podcast is that sometimes it's a natural, organic conversation. Sometimes we can just go on a tangent in a completely different direction. We're talking about what makes you smile. So let's get back to it. My next question to you, to get to know you as a personal level, is what makes you come alive on a personal level, not professional, at a personal level? What makes you come alive?
Well, I'm an avid golfer, so a good game of golf would make me come really alive. Good conversations. In Ireland, we call them good crack.
Oh yeah.
That's not the stuff that you stuff up your nose. It's called CRAIC, and that is just good people. Good people having good fun, and having deep conversations like we're having now about life, the universe, and everything that makes me
Mhm.
come alive.
Love that. Yes, absolutely. And just, having beautiful conversation. And that's at the end of the day, it's all the best things are the things that are free. And just like having a good, you know, heart to heart conversation, that's something that when you have that with someone, it makes you really come alive. It's really makes me feel happy. And that's what I love doing in this podcast is meeting with incredible human beings with beautiful hearts and having this conversation all day long from what were just before a couple of hours before complete strangers, but during during the call, we have this deep connection because of this conversation, and that's something I really enjoy and love the most about this podcast.
That's awesome, Lorenzo or Payman, because your vibe attracts your tribe, as they say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just like I heard someone say it, we are just like antennas in the universe, and we just attract and receive the same frequencies that we project. And I've seen that in my life unfold so many times, especially in the past year or so. Absolutely. All right. So now, conversely, what makes you sad and angry?
You know what makes me sad is just pure ignorance.
Mm,
The willful ignorance makes me angry.
mhm.
Just um, ignorance makes me sad. And we know denial is also a form of coping. So there are things that we really don't want to know because we don't want to confront the big black hole. But yeah, that's what I spend my life trying to educate,
Yes.
trying to
Makes
inform, because ignorance is a tyranny, and we've used it as a tyranny. We've used ignorance, and people continue to use ignorance as a way to control
oh totally.
and manage and direct people in a tyrannical way.
And we like to believe that this is only used in the third world countries, but it's used even more so in the first world countries as well than third world countries. I've seen that so many times, especially if you look at what's going on right now in the world. We see a prime example of that right now. So, but that's for another topic, another conversation. But yeah,
I mean, it's it's just the human condition. I mean, we are all afflicted by the human condition, and there are human behaviors that we all
yeah,
suffer from. It's not good or bad. It's just
hmm
is the way it is. I would say that if we are all informed, and then we have a choice. If we have an awareness, we actually are giving choice. I'm not saying that people should do what I say they should do. All my only job is to create the awareness sufficient to have people be empowered with a choice. And then free will takes over.
yeah.
I sometimes joke that even God doesn't have time to convince people. That's why he gave us free will.
I
My
love that.
job is
Yeah,
not to convince people of anything. I don't have the time.
exactly. Yeah, same here. I agree with you. Now, what scares you?
Ignorance.
Yeah.
Same thing, ignorance. I mean,
hmm
I will defend people's right to believe what they want to believe. And if they believe the world is flat, that's fine. But I do not want to be put back into a flat world after, a
Oh yeah,
century of pain and suffering and death, uh, fighting for freedom of expression,
totally.
freedom of thought.
hmm I agree.
Now, reality is an illusion, according to Einstein, albeit a very persistent illusion, but there are basic facts
hmm
that we cannot personalize our reality.
Is it an illusion, or as Elon Musk says, we are living in a simulation on some super powerful computer? just like in the
I-
Matrix.
it could very well be that, but the
Yeah,
fact of the matter is we have to deal with it. We
absolutely.
deal with that reality. And the reality is that gravity grounds us
Hmm.
and we will die, and food nourishes us to keep
Yeah,
us alive. And bad food
absolutely.
will kill us early.
Yes,
So if
absolutely.
you eat right and keep fit, you will likely live long and die quick.
But also, I've known also it defies any reason. I've known people that are extremely fit that live very healthy and all that, yet they go very fast. So they get some, I mean, unexplainable diseases that you would never see that happening for them or coming, and they're
Well,
gone like that.
you said it yourself, Payment. It's inflammation. So let's not confuse fit with healthy. If you run marathons all of your life and you're addicted to marathons, the metabolic exhaust of breathing that much oxygen to fuel your marathon running will have its consequences at the cellular level, because it creates those so-called free radicals that, if they're not managed sufficiently, they're going to have long-term effects. One of them would be is to oxidize LDL cholesterol, and it starts sticking in your arteries. And at age 50, maybe even Lance Armstrong probably had something like that. You feel over with a heart attack, even though you look incredibly fit. But that's
I know
that's
it's one of the mysteries
yeah.
of life, because I also have one of my uncles. He's probably 85, 86, if not 90 now. For a good 50 years, 50, 55, and 60 years, he was smoking 1 to 2 or 3 packs a day, and he never had any lung issues. Sure, he has other issues, but he never had any lung issues. Now, of course, he stopped. But I mean, there's things that completely defy any logic and that just don't make, I mean, it's hard to understand.
They're the exceptions. I mean, you
Yeah,
cannot. It's There are millions of people who've died from lung cancer from smoking. So if they all
absolutely.
were like your uncle, it'd be absolutely fantastic. But that's not the case.
Yeah,
You know,
very true.
the fact is, smoking
Oh,
will
totally.
create free radicals.
Totally.
They
Yes.
will damage.
Hmm.
So there are other things he may have done to counteract that. Or maybe he wasn't. You know, I don't know. But
Hmm.
there are. It is something that I wouldn't use myself as an excuse to continue to smoking, because
Oh,
I stopped
absolutely.
smoking about 25
Yeah.
years ago, and it was the hardest thing I did.
Yeah.
It is very hard to stop smoking. It's a huge addiction.
Yeah. What makes it so hard to stop? Is it the fact of smoking? Is it the social aspect because the social thing to do, or is it the combination of both that makes it so difficult to stop? Because there's so many other addictions, like, I mean, there's so many, like, I don't know, drinking or whatever, video games, or even some men can struggle with porn addiction, for example, and those are very, very harmful. Yet, what is it making that hard for them to stop? Is it the actual act of the adrenaline rush that they get, or is it for some of these the social aspect of smoking, drinking, playing video games, and so on and so forth? That's something that is very fascinating as well, if you start to look at it and start
Well,
to
if
analyze
I
it.
go back to my I went to my doctor and I said, give me a reason. And my doctor would say, look, if you came in here hacking
Mhm.
up your guts and you told me I have to stop smoking, I would say, let's get you on the program to stop smoking. But if you
Of
still
course.
enjoy it, keep doing it until you stop enjoying it. So he put me on a
Mhm.
machine that measured my lung capacity. And at age 40, my lung capacity was 50% of normal for average males my age.
Wow.
Now that's actionable data, upon which I said,
Mhm.
okay, let's do it. And he put me on these patches,
Mhm.
where these nicotine patches that were designed to take care of the physical addiction. But then, as you was pointing out, the social addiction was the stuff that I had to deal with. And those first few days were awful. So I went from, and I used to roll my own cigarettes. It wasn't these weird, these pussy, filtered cigarettes. They were
Yeah, yeah.
hardcore,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
roll your own drum tobacco. So I slowly over 6 months, I would go from 10 cigarettes to zero. And when I stopped at the end, it was the realization that I spent much more on the patches than I ever did on the tobacco. So I stopped the patches as well. But it was not easy. I still remember it now, nearly 30 years later.
Oh yeah.
So to answer your
Wow.
question, yeah, there's always a component of both. There's the physical, and then there's just the
Social, yeah.
social part. I
Absolutely.
mean, I'm addicted to other things as well. I mean, sugar is more
Oh
addictive than
yes.
cocaine,
Oh yeah.
and that's, yeah.
Isn't sugar called the white cocaine or something like that? The sweet
Yeah, no,
cocaine, something like
I
that?
wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Oh wow. Okay. All right. So I mean, we can have a fascinating conversation. It can go on for 2-3 hours, but let's keep it short. Okay. So that's amazing. So now tell us, what is your personal superpower?
that's a great question, Payman. I've never actually
Yeah.
asked myself. And there was another gentleman this morning, Aaron O'Dowd, who talks about that everyone has a superpower. I think if I have any superpower, it's the ability to connect.
It's a great one. Yes.
With people. That I enjoy talking with people. Now I don't enjoy talking to everyone.
Yes.
Because there are toxic people out there that you want to avoid.
Sure. Absolutely.
But in general, people will react, as you say, people react to a smile. People react to friendly. And it's very rarely that you come across people who don't react positively when you approach them in a friendly way.
Totally. Now let me take you on a trip, because I know you love traveling, right?
I did, yes. I do, yes.
All right. There's gonna be a different types of travel. It's gonna be down the memory line. So now remember when we're kids growing up, everybody asked us, parents, family, relatives, teachers, so Hans, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
It was always a medic. I wanted to be like Marcus
wow.
Wilby, MD. I wanted to be a doctor. And then I figured out that I can't do bodily fluids. I can't do blood or sputum or, cutting up things. So I figured might as well just become a PhD instead.
I was the same. My parents wanted me to become a doctor, but at the slightest sight of the blood, I would just faint. So I said, that's not going to work for me.
No.
Awesome. So, and when you were a kid growing up, what was your favorite subject in school?
It was physics, actually.
Okay. That's interesting. And what would you say was your least favorite subject?
What was my least favorite? My least favorite, or what was I not good at?
Kind of both.
I guess I struggled with English.
Oh,
English
wow.
literature.
Interesting. You were not a reader back then?
Not so much.
Okay.
Not so much. But English is a wonderful language.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So now let's move on a little bit further now. So if you look at your path from the time you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say it was very straightforward, smooth sailing? Once you got into one lane, it was pretty much straightforward? Or was it like turns and twists and yet a roller coaster, you had to change direction around? So how would you describe your path from the time you left school to now?
The first years, from teenage to 30, or as you point out, they're the challenging years where you've got to find what do you want to be when you want to grow up?
Yeah.
Or what do you want to be when you grow up? So I did the natural things. I did the schooling, I did the primary degree, and then I did the postdoctoral or the PhD. And then it got really interesting at age 27 when I got introduced to the world of protein work, protein crystallography, the big molecules of life. But I would say that each point in my life, I can always point to a person or a circumstance that was the signpost for the next step. And to those people, I'm incredibly grateful.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree with that. Now, I'm sure you read, I mean, you heard the saying that says, change your story, change your mind, change your life. And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves on a daily basis. So when you had to change your story, to change your life, or change your path, how did you do it? Did you do it to the help of friends, families, mentors, books? How did you do it?
There's a saying that goes, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Indeed.
So I changed the big change, the two big changes were moving from small molecule crystallography into the world of research in biomedical structural biology or structural biology. The next big change was when they moved my cheese in 2009 and I took early retirement from Pfizer and moved from the world of treatment and cures to the world of wellness and prevention in the industry of direct sales. Okay. Or in the business of direct sales. And again, you just trust your gut. The universe will always open doors for you. But the problem is, as the guy says, we look so long and regretfully at the doors that are closed, or the door that just closed, that we miss the ones that are open. I'm not sure whether that answers your question. It was a good friend, an MD, Ph.D. friend, who turned me on to the world of Ayurveda and a company that Deepak Chopra endorsed. And that was 12 years ago, and I haven't looked back.
Awesome. All right. Now let's talk about your business. What are you doing now? Tell us about what you're
so
building.
As I said, I'm a commitment to the art and science of clean living, Payman. And in business, you innovate or you die. Totally. It's very simple. And if you want to own your life, I would say, it's best to own your own business. Just the data shows that, if you look at the Social Security Administration's data on people who are financially free when they retire, they're 1%, but of that 1%, 75% have owned their own business. And it's quite interesting, I would say, if you live in the land of the free and the home of the brave entrepreneur, which is America, find your passion. And then pick an industry where you can express that passion and work it part-time. As Jim Rohn would say, work part-time on your passion and full-time on your job until the part-time work gives you the same income as the full-time job work, and then you have got a choice. So my business is creating awareness around the consequences, or at least the effects of people's lifestyle choices on their most precious asset, which is their health. I think it was the Dalai Lama or some other wise person who says, in our working years, we trade our health for our wealth with the expectation that when we retire, we can reverse the process. It doesn't work.
Yes.
So, and George Burns would say, if I'd known I'd have lived this long, I would have taken better care of myself. And that's really the take-home message is take time out for a day and examine what you're doing to yourself. Stress-wise, nutrition-wise, happy-wise. And is what you're doing making you happy? Because if it's not fun, you shouldn't be doing it.
Totally. Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Oh, yes. It even makes me reflect on that. Absolutely. Yes. All right. So who would you say is your ideal client?
There's a phrase that a friend of mine used, which is called a soji, which is Soji is someone who gets it.
Yes, that would be a good
So that would be the
description. Amazing.
And I'm not looking for a utopia, because it's the opposites that make life interesting. You can't see the good without the bad. You can't see dark without light, the old yin yang. But I'm not proposing that we should suffer, but we all do suffer to some extent as we go through this, valley of tears, or this full catastrophe that's life. And
Yeah.
gather people around you that resonate at your frequency, to use a common term, and that challenge you to be more than you are, or more than you believe you can be.
Yeah. So you work in helping people take control of their health and age by design. So share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
So there's a dear friend who's now passed, whose name was
Sorry to
Dr.
hear
John
that.
Mayo. And I met him in 2003, and he was, like all physicians, he had an aversion to magical thinking and supplements, and people coming to him and saying, "You do this, you'll be good." So he wrote me a wonderful testimonial before he passed, and this is the last sentence out of that testimonial. Many people comment on my younger than age appearance and vigor, and I feel so much younger and have so much energy that I have the difficult time believing it myself. I am eternally grateful to Hans for his persistence, his unstoppable positive attitude, and to the company for their well-researched and very effective products. That's not me doing anything. It is me just being the signpost when the person is ready to make that change. Because as I said before, I just create awareness. And that device that, what some people call an ultimate nutritional lie detector, I call it, a wellness device, your holistic wellness device. All it does is it measures a biomarker of your integrated health. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate any disease, but it will tell you, are you eating right? Are you actually nourished? Or are you just, feeding your cravings or stuffing your face?
So tell us more about your program. What is the structure of it? Is it one-on-one? Is it group program? Is it once a week, once a day? Tell us about the structure of your program for someone who might be interested in it, watching this.
So the program involves getting your initial read on this device, and then having a conversation in a sort of a motivational inquiry kind of way to establish what is it you want to do. If you don't want to do nothing, you do nothing. You've always got a choice to do nothing. And then there's the fast way and the easy way to get to a place where you're more nourished. The fast way is what I chose because it comes with a money back guarantee. The slow way does not come with a money back guarantee, but is equally, essential to change the lifestyle habits that influence that score. Once the people are on the program, they get me de facto as their accountability partner. And once a month, they get a rescan to track their progress. And if they're on the program, program, if they do the fast way, which is a nutritional regimen, then the rescan is free. The first scan will always cost them money. I charge $25 for a scan. Some people charge 50, other doctors charge 100. You know, if I look back at what it did for my life, you know, $25 is cheap.
Sure.
Very inexpensive for what can be, for many people, a life-changing event.
What do you scan? Is it their brain or a specific part
No,
of the body?
it is using the Nobel Prize winning science of Raman spectroscopy to pick up a group of plant molecules in your skin that are inaccurate. At least the National Science Foundation has declared that measuring these plant molecules, which are called carotenoids, are the most accurate, objective measure of a person's fruit and vegetable consumption.
Okay.
And we all know that a healthy diet includes a healthy dose of those.
Sure. Okay. So you mentioned that you have one program which is a money back guarantee, one which doesn't. Tell us a bit more about each of those, because that's intriguing.
So the money back guarantee, so the company has a group of products that they call scanner certified, where they will say, if you make a commitment, a 60-day commitment, and take the product as prescribed for 60 days, we will guarantee that we will increase your score on this device, or we will give you your money back. And the scores are color coded: blue, green, yellow, orange, red, which is optimum, good, moderate, weak, poor, and very poor. You want to be in the green or the blue. If you're not in the green or the blue, then likely you are not nutritionally complete, and you're asking your body to rob Peter to pay Paul. So it will rob the systems that are responsible for long-term health to make sure that all systems are a go right today, because that's the only thing the body cares about. The other program is which doesn't come with a money back guarantee from the company, obviously, is you change your diet, you change your lifestyle, you watch if you're smoking, you stop smoking, you watch your weight, you watch the environmental stressors in your life. Now, that will also be included in the other program that you still need to focus on, but the nutritional micronutrient regimen at least gives you a head start.
I see. That's intriguing. That's interesting. Wow.
And there are no other, I mean, as the brochure would say on the device, with the Pharmanex biophotonics scanner, it will be very difficult for any competitor to match the Pharmanex differentiating proposition for distributors and consumers alike. It's so, again, in business, you innovate or you die. So I don't really have a Me Too conversation, because that Pharmanex biophotonics scanner is proprietary to Pharmanex.
Makes sense. Is that device something that you invented and built, or is it something that was already there?
It was already there. Actually,
Okay.
It comes from the Institute for Biomedical Optics at the University of Utah, the Moran Eye Institute, where
Okay.
the original experiment was, the original grant was to determine whether you could use this spectroscopy, this light measuring device, to measure the concentration of these plant molecules in the back of the eye, which is called the macula. Because in the early 90s or the late 90s, age-related macular degeneration was still the leading cause of blindness in America, and had a link to those carotenoid concentrations in the macula, where their job was to protect that tissue from blue light radiation damage.
I see. Now, so for your business, how are you getting your clients? Is it through word of mouth, or do you have a marketing plan in place? So how are you getting your clients?
My marketing plan is word of mouth, meeting with people like you, sharing the story, and my
Beautiful.
business is a is a relationship referral business.
Love that. Okay.
I see that there's great value in doing advertising. I've just never had the courage to throw a lot of stuff on the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, I agree.
It's much easier to have a conversation with the person that is being referred to you, because at least you know where they're coming from.
Absolutely. I agree totally on that. Now, what would you say is the number one challenge currently you're facing in your business?
Time.
Yes.
Time is and the effective use of it. And I'm just looking at our clock. I would love to answer that question in a more full way, but I have another appointment coming up at the top of the hour that means I do need to run. But yet the challenge is like everyone. How do you efficiently use your time, and how do you how do you get the message out where it means something, or how do you formulate the message that it means something? Because really the problem with wellness is nobody does it because there's nothing to motivate people to do wellness. We do sick care because we're in pain. We will pay for pain. But when everything is going fine, what's the motivation for me to do anything? There's no motivation. So we all know that we need to adopt healthy lifestyle habits, but since there's no actual physical pain yet, we postpone it. So I did a post today on Facebook that says, 10 years ago, I discovered my multivitamin, multimineral phytonutrient supplement, and that's my health insurance. And I pay for that monthly subscription like I pay for my monthly subscription to my sick insurance every single month. That does not mean I'm not going to die. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get sick. It just means I want to do so from a nutritional foundation that's solid and has fewer cracks.
Awesome. Now, what would you say is a cause that you're passionate about?
My vision is to create a true healthcare system. That's what keeps me up. That's what keeps me in the game. By empowering people of all sick and healthcare persuasions with tools, clinically validated tools that help them monetize modalities of prevention so that they can make a life and a living. And then my mission is very simple. It's to educate, measure, monitor, raise public health awareness, and the score on the machine. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what gets me up in the morning and keeps me getting up in the morning.
Love that. Now, to finish, just a couple of questions. What would you say is the smallest thing you've done so far that's had the biggest impact in your life? And
that
by small,
that measurement, the smallest thing, 30 seconds, huge impact on my life.
Love that. And if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
They can go to yourholisticacademy.com, yourholisticacademy.com, and then just look under the practitioners and find my name, and all of my information is there.
Okay, beautiful.
And they can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, Hans Parge.
Okay. Yeah, send me the link to that page and I'll put it in the show notes for someone that would like to connect with you. And yeah, so listen, Hans, love talking to you. We can have amazing conversation for hours, but we're gonna call it a day for today because you have another call and I'm busy as well. So we might do a part 2 in a few weeks because I still have a lot more questions that I would like to ask you and I haven't even got to it, but we'll do that maybe in a few weeks.
I would very much love that part 2. I really do. I love this conversation. And
awesome.
I thank
then
you
we'll
so much
do
for
it.
giving me the opportunity. We'll do it again.
In that case, we'll do it shorter than expected because I would like to ask those questions in the near future. So listen, I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. It's been an honor and a pleasure connecting with you and having this amazing conversation. Always good to talk with these not only enlightened people, but highly educated and intelligent people like you, because it's always, education, real education, as far as I'm concerned, starts the moment you leave school. And that's one of the things I love doing with this podcast, is talking to people that and learning things from them that I had no idea about. And this podcast basically is not for me to talk with people, but also to connect and inspire others, but to learn, keep on. It's part of my ongoing education to learn about the world, about new areas that I had no idea about. So thank you for that.
You're
And
you're very, very welcome. And I look forward to continuing the conversation and learning more from you, because it's all a sort of
absolutely,
a reciprocal kind of event. So have a
absolutely.
wonderful, wonderful day, my friend. And I look
Same,
forward to our part two.
same here. Thank you very much. Take care.